Hey guys, so today I wanted to come on here and talk about this phenomenon we see in our society that basically, simply put, shows how a lot of people, a lot of our people, a lot of peoples generally, it seems to me that they don't really care about oppression. They just don't want to be the one getting oppressed.
This one goes out to the counterfeit Yankees of Africa. Whole generation of Africans on social media cosplaying American brats, soft life. I see you. I see your fancy dinner in your less than $2,000 GDP country. I see your beautiful house, but I also see the padlock on your gate. I see the chain around the padlock. I see the barbed wire along your fence. The alert in your bank statement from security fee. The street just outside your gate. The road you are driving your fine car on top of. The starving children sleeping on the sidewalk. But for your mind, you don't have a shebi. Life is good. Is that what prosperity is to you? I wonder where you got that idea from. The idea that being marginally better than the next slave is what success looks like. I wonder where that idea originated from and why it seems to have possessed all of us in this part of the world. Anyway, Chinese people are enjoying 5G internet in their villages. They used to be poor and hungry Oyinbo worshippers too.
And I'm going to be using this video I came by not too long ago on TikTok, where this sister was talking about a quote from Burna Boy, where he said, "I'm now richer than politicians, oil moguls that I looked up to." And someone responded to that saying, "Ever since I was a little boy, I always wanted to be like the people destroying my country, and now I am as rich as them." According to the Daily Post, he made this post on his Instagram story while advising his followers not to underestimate those who are younger than them because they could become tomorrow's Elon Musk. Now, personally, I have a problem with this statement because the idea of treating people nicely and not looking down on them, not because they are people that are deserving of respect, but because in my mind I'm thinking, oh, what if this person becomes the next Elon Musk? That just don't sit right with my spirit. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know about anyone else, but I want to live in a world where people are respected and treated nicely because they are human beings and not because of the possibility of what they may be tomorrow or because of what they are today. And yes, who knows? He probably shares that same sentiment as well. But right now, we don't know that and we cannot infer or put words into his mouth. We can only go by what the man said. And this is what the man said, at least according to the article. So maybe I should say allegedly, right? They are alleging that he said this. First of all, why do we have so many people who glorify and worship these billionaires? Because what do they do for us? What good do they bring to the planet that I'm not aware of that is making people hold them in this high esteem? Not only are these people exploiting people, because let's just be for real here, they are no ethical billionaires. You cannot be a billionaire and be ethical, right? So for these people to get to where they are at, their billionaire status, they have to exploit people, trample on people to get there. So why is this the kind of people that we see people worshiping and looking up to? It's crazy. And then is the fact that, like, let's circle back to the person he mentioned, Elon Musk, right? This is someone who is from a family that got their money from exploiting Black people, Black South Africans to be more specific, right? So why are we seeing Black people hold this guy up? The foundation of his wealth have our people's blood on it. So what exactly are we doing here? And what makes this thing even worse is that Burna Boy, he seems to be aware of history, right? Because like some people may come and say, oh, probably he did not know about the history of, whatever, right? But we have seen clips of him talking about what them colonizers came and did and how all of that is wrong.
Some people came here and lied to you and took the crown off your head and told you that you were a slave when really they came here and met you as a king.
So this is someone who is knowledgeable about these things. So why then would he now say something like this? Why would he, of all people, knowing what he knows, cite Elon Musk, put him on a pedestal basically to his followers? Now, this is because, in my humble opinion, what is at play here is what I said at the beginning of this video. It would shock you to know that there are some people who really, if you want to get to the bottom of where their heart really is at, and you will find out that they don't really have a problem with exploitation and oppression. They just don't want to be the ones getting exploited and oppressed. Shout out to Kayode for this his response, because yeah, literally. And this is not a mindset you would find in only Burna Boy. There's a whole lot of Nigerians that think this way. There's a whole lot of Africans that think this way. Hell, there's a whole lot of humans, regardless of race, ethnicity, culture, religion, nationality, whatever, that thinks this way. And something else this highlights, at least to me, is this individualistic way of thinking and navigating life that we are starting to see a lot more people embrace, where all they care about is themselves, their family, I, me, mine, and I, right? And the rest of the community can literally go to hell. As long as I'm good, I literally don't give a damn about you. You can go find a way to pick yourself up by your bootstrap. And that is why year in, year out, you would never hear these people speaking up for the everyday people or talking about shedding light on the ills that are going on in our society as perpetuated by these politicians and oil moguls that they be looking up to. Because them doing that would be them indirectly calling out themselves, because remember, they want to be like these people, so why would they call them out? And it's just very sad, because we used to be a people who were very communal, right? We care about each other, and it's the ideology that we upheld used to be Ubuntu, and it was beautiful. But now, sadly, we are moving further and further and further away from that. And unfortunately, that's not how we are going to get ourselves the liberation that we want.
Nigerians are more concerned with becoming Dangote rather than condemning Dangote and asking, we have Dangote, the richest man or wherever, or Tedola and wherever in Nigeria. What is their use? What are they actually doing in Nigeria? Nobody questions that. Everybody wants to either marry their children or become them, which is very, very stupid to me, because you will never become them until you address why they are in that sort of position in the first place. But we idolize this kinds of sick behavior. We idolize billionaires, we idolize money, and we idolize white people, whether you want to accept it or not. And the worst part is that we like to deceive ourselves that is the government alone. The government is the reflection of the people. The government we have now is because we are what the government is. Me personally, I don't believe there's anybody in Nigeria that you can elect to be in the government that will not do the same thing, which is why we are in the perpetual cycle of foolishness. Until we address the sickness that is being perpetrated in our community, we will never have good leaders, and I'm sorry, we will continue to suffer.
This sister who actually made this video, thanks to her, I got to hear of this tweet. She's an African American, and she tackled this conversation from an African American perspective. Even I, as an African, when I watch her video, I see similarities. I can relate to what you just said.
And this sentence made me think of hip-hop and the glorification of wealth, and how a lot of these rappers see their communities being exploited and destroyed, and rather than them wanting to be the change in that, they just want to be the person with the money that's doing the destroying. A while ago, I had to read an article for class, and the person was interviewing Dream Hampton. If you're unfamiliar with Dream Hampton, she is a journalist, documentarian, and what she is most known for is challenging the normalcies around misogyny in hip-hop. She's probably most known for executive producing the R. Kelly documentary. Now, at the time when Dream Hampton was a journalist back in the 90s and early 2000s, she was really somebody who was challenging these rappers about the things that they were saying in their songs. And this interviewer was kind of asking her about like what it was like at that time and the questions she was asking and how it made her feel. And one thing that he ends up asking her is, do you still believe hip hop is revolutionary? Was it ever? And her answer literally broke my brain. And I mean that in the most affectionate way possible. She says, you can't be a revolutionary with broken gender politics. You can't be a revolutionary and be homophobic. And this is before we even get to capitalism. To be homophobic, transphobic, and misogynistic, no, you're not a revolutionary. You're not even radical. You're actually quite status quo. What it was a radical sound. And that's not even true anymore. When I tell you I sat up when I was reading that, because if you're anything like myself, anything that you've ever heard about hip hop is how revolutionary it was, how it changed the game, how it was so different and so radical. I took a whole class on hip hop in college and they talked about how revolutionary it was. Even want to talk about the fashions, how these people weren't invited to these fashion shows, even they were wearing these high-end fashion brands, like all these different things. Everything that has been fed to me my entire life is how hip hop is this radical revolutionary thing and how innovative these young men were. But it's actually quite the status quo. And I had to sit with that and I had to ask myself, well, when you put it like that, when you think about it like that, well, yeah, she's absolutely right. The sound was revolutionary, but the actual intentions, how people were moving behind the scenes, the suppression of women, the misogynistic lyrics, all of it is quite status quo.
And one day that will be said about Afrobeats. When we get to that point where we'll be eventually ready to have this conversation, maybe not in 10 years, maybe not in 20 years, but someday.
Hip hop arguably had the opportunity to be something different and revolutionary and inclusive and did everything it could to not be that. If we even just want to talk about the capitalism aspect of this, think about the things that rappers have done with their money. They haven't invested their money in black-owned businesses and black-owned things. Yeah, sure, some, but a lot of what rappers are doing with their money, particularly in today's climate, is they're spending their money on white-owned luxury brands. They're not moving back to their neighborhoods or even neighborhoods adjacent. They're moving across the country to lily white neighborhoods to be amongst white folks. So when I come back to this and him saying this, I'm like, yeah, rappers are the same exact way. They saw white people exploiting their wealth and said, I want parts. I want to do the same exact thing. And that is so interesting, to say the least.
In this chapter titled Post-Independence Nigeria, I want to read for you guys this paragraph on page 49 from Chinua Achebe's There Was a Country. This was what he said, and I think this is very important because it kind of gives us, or me personally at least, you guys will let me know what you think about this, but it somehow, I don't want to say makes sense of why we see this mentality being perpetuated in our people, this mindset of I want to be like the people causing us harm, or I look up to the people who are exploiting us, because I don't know if anyone will be able to make this kind of behavior make sense, because it will never make sense to me personally. But I think this particular section here gives us somewhat of an idea of how exactly we got here, right? The foundation, even I would say, of where this stems from. Because here he said the bequest was much greater than just stepping into jobs left behind by the British. Members of my generation also moved into homes in the former British quarters previously occupied by members of the European Senior Civil Service. These homes often came with servants, chauffeurs, maids, cooks, gardeners, stewards, whom the British had organized meticulously to, in quotes, ease their colonial sojourn. Now, following the departure of the Europeans, many domestic staff stayed in the same positions and were only too grateful to continue their designated salaried roles in post-independence Nigeria. Their masters were no longer European, but their own brothers and sisters. This bequest continued in the form of new club memberships and access to previously all-white areas of town, restaurants, and theaters. Now, why is this important? It is important because I think this right here is the foundation of the mentality that we are seeing today. Put in mind that these people Chinua Achebe is writing about are people who experienced colonization, right? So of course, in some way, shape or form, these are broken people. These are people that are mentally enslaved, right? So of course, they had some level of admiration for the colonizers. They were looking up to them. Hence why they could not wait to slip their legs into the shoes that were left back by them colonizers. And I'm not saying all Nigerians back then during this era were like this or had this mentality, because of course not, right? But I'm speaking specifically about the ones that were like this, the ones that Chinua Achebe wrote about, right? because they ended up shaping the country as we know it today. In a time where they were supposed to be thinking about, okay, how can we dismantle these useless systems that these people put in place? How can we create a system that is going to benefit all Nigerians? How can we, pick our people up and help them dust off the debts that they have on their body? They said, F all of that. The colonizers are gone. Get ready, people. Now we are your new masters and you are going to bow down to us. All the power and the privileges and the stuff we did not get to enjoy all of these years. Now we are going to be the ones enjoying them at your expense. And this right here is why I have serious beef with the generation that came before us, guys. Maybe the generation that even came before the generation that came before us. Because it is literally because of these people that our world, our country looks the way it still looks today. Because there was so much that these people could have done to change things, to make things better, that they didn't do. And not only did they not do that, their sick ideologies, their sick, twisted way, selfish, wicked way of thinking and navigating life, they also found a way to standardize this way of thinking by passing it on, right? Because they were telling it to their kids. Hence why we have the Burna boys in our world, right, that have this kind of mindset. It doesn't come from nowhere. There is always, a foundation to these things. Not to take blame away from, the people who perpetuate this ideology, because like, you're an adult, for crying out loud. You should know better, right? But if we want to talk about like, how do you end up like this? Society basically is, they make us, right? Yes, we do have a say to decide what we are going to take and what we are going to cast away. And, Burna Boy, he picked what he picked, right? As we can obviously see, right? But we cannot help but talk about the foundation of these things. Hence why I'm saying this. But anyways, Chinua Achebe's There Was a Country is actually a very good read. If you haven't read it yet, I would encourage you to. But I'm going to give you a heads up. You may find yourself getting pissed by reading this book. I personally get very angry while reading it, hence why I've been reading it since February, but I've not been able to even get to the middle of the book, because whenever I pick it up, I just read one line and I get so pissed because the details in here just really pisses me off, right? The more I read, the more I see a lot of the nonsense that they were doing, post-colonization, and how these people could have changed things, but they were just so busy doing all sorts of nonsense, obsessing over tribe and them other useless stuff. Hence why they made literally no progress, and we are still where we are at today. Like, it really is very aggravating reading it. Like, it's a book from his perspective though, so it's like somewhat like direct historical narration of how things went down and what was happening post-colonization, but from Chinua Achebe's perspective. It's a nice book for those who are interested in history. You may want to check this one out. You may get peace from reading it, but it's a nice book regardless, and you would learn a thing or two. Lala, you want to read? Are you side-eyeing me? Was that a side eye you just...
Trying to get Nigerians to care about other Nigerians is like an Olympic sport, because when you get to a point where you have to start addressing the privileges that many Nigerians should not be having, e.g. having house girl and house boy, that's exploitation. But if I bring that up now, a lot of Nigerians will pull out now and say, why are you telling me I can't have literal slaves?
I'm going to be leaving this one here. Let me know down below in the comment section what your thoughts are. Thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, I'll be catching you in the next one. Bye.